Hey, it's Alex Sterling, and I'm 28 years old. That Christmas dawn was meant to be the turning point where my mom at last embraced my choices. Instead, it turned into my total downfall. I was right there in her spotless den, sharing that my spouse Camila was expecting our boy, hoping for an embrace, hoping for some hint of reconciliation. But all I got was her quiet, icy scrutiny. Then the harsh statement hit. I don't want you or that illegitimate kid in our circle. You're gone from my life and cut from the inheritance. Just 5 phrases. That's what it took to erase 3 decades of kinship and shared past. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I simply set the flawless, thoughtfully packaged holiday present on her vintage end table and stepped out the entrance. The instant she unwrapped that container, as my sibling described, the shrieking erupted and lasted a full 20 minutes. A noise, he claimed, like a person facing slaughter. That's how my mom welcomed her initial grandkid. I'm on the verge of revealing the complete harsh tale of losing my kin and discovering one that truly fits me. I'm Alex Sterling, a rescue worker from Alexandria, Virginia, and this is my reality. Before I dive into my account, I need to feel you're along for the ride. Drop a "tuned in the replies or share your location. I enjoy learning how widespread my narrative travels. Even a tiny link can make a tale feel acknowledged. Appreciate it. And if you've ever picked your mental health over your own flesh and blood, smash that follow icon, because you're far from isolated. And here we go with my account. I'm Alex Sterling, and 3 years back, I was leading what seemed like a fairly ordinary existence, which for someone with my roots meant it was already tangled. I served as an emergency responder for the Alexandria Fire Service, AFS, which I adored, and I had my own spot in the historic district. The true snag was the wonderful lady I was seeing, Camila Reyes. Now, Camila wasn't precisely the conventional partner type for a Sterling. She was a talented specialty pastry chef who operated a wildly successful mobile eatery across the wider DC region. She hailed from a humble, affectionate household that had relocated here ages ago, and my mother, Caroline Sterling, glanced at her once and deemed her pure evil. You need to grasp my family's essence. They're what you'd kindly term long-standing Alexandria wealth. My grandpa established a thriving federal contracting and security firm in the 60s, and my mom has devoted her whole existence to pretending we're aristocracy due to it. She attends the elite golf club, organizes benefit teas for congressional spouses, and holds rigid views on suitable companions for our kind. To her, serving as an emergency hero was okay for others' offspring, but I ought to have wedded an and coming diplomat or joined the Marines as a leader by now, and begun creating polished hairs. Camila and I crossed paths, totally by chance, on a midnight response when her mobile kitchen faced a small wiring issue. It wasn't major, but she stayed so composed and witty as I handled the situation that I ended up hanging around, inventing reasons to bump into her at nearby produce fairs. When she eventually invited me on a date, I agreed instantly. She was smart, compassionate, diligent, and valued me for who I was, which felt groundbreaking after relationships with ladies who viewed me merely as access to my clan's fortune or a status symbol. The initial occasion I introduced Camila for a weekend supper was precisely the catastrophe you'd foresee. My mom passed the whole time posing sharp inquiries about her job security in the hospitality field and future money strategies. My dad, who typically avoided my romantic affairs, kept remarking on the volatility of independent ventures. Meanwhile, my junior brother Patrick, aged 25 and still bunking in the lower level, while advising tech firms, lounged there grinning like it was entertainment. Camila managed it all with remarkable poise, responding to each barbed query truthfully, discussing her goals for additional vehicle, and even praising my mom's notoriously flavorless beef dish. But I noticed the scheming in Mom's gaze. This wasn't the in-law she'd pictured for her image. After Camila departed, Mom pulled me aside in the library. "Alex, sweetheart," she murmured. "I'm certain she's decent enough, but consider your path ahead. What sort of existence can a street vendor truly offer? What would our acquaintances say? When I pointed out my occupation was solid, she dismissed it as beside the point. Public safety is a noble calling, darling, but it's not a way of living. You require a partner whose networks can back you rightly. The judgment turned into a persistent mild affliction in our household. Each conversation looped back to Camila's supposed flaws. Every clan assembly featured subtle jabs about my temporary fling and when I'd commit to someone fitting. Patrick, the favored one, who'd never kept employment beyond half a year, somehow believed he could preach to me on Camila's absence of ambition. The ultimate trigger before the baby news arrived when Camila popped the question. No elaborate show. Just a simple Tuesday night as we prepared supper in our cozy flat. Alex, I can't picture my days without you. Will you be my husband? The band was bespoke, considerate, and utterly ideal. I accepted right away, surer of that instant than any other. When I phoned my folks with the update, my mom's response was disastrous. Following 10 seconds of utter quiet, she erupted into a raging tirade about me squandering my promise. As if my value as a person hinged on my mate's assumed earnings level. My dad suggested a prolonged betrothal, and even Patrick shared his insights on exploring more options. But the genuine explosion hit 6 months on when we revealed the expectancy. We chose to inform them face to face, mainly because I was foolish enough to believe grandparenthood would at last mellow their stance. I genuinely thought they'd welcome her since this was their debut descendant. I should have realized otherwise. Mom offered no well wishes. She instantly began assessing the possible embarrassment to the clan's standing, hinting I might explore alternatives. A dreadful notion I swiftly rejected. That's when it dawned on me this wasn't affection or worry. It was sheer malicious bias. Have you ever faced absolute, deliberate kin dismissal amid what should have been your peak joy? Share in the replies because I'm learning poisonous households are way too prevalent. The weeks before the holiday grew more strained. My mom barred Camila from clan occasions, so I naturally quit showing up. Each chat became a chance to fault my decisions and forecast my union's certain failure. The maddening hypocrisy stayed constant. Patrick lingered as the prized kid in the cellar, adding zilch, while I, the employed wedded impending parent, was the household shame. Camila's relatives, conversely, accepted me fully. Her folks, Alina and Roberto, invited me into their residence as if I'd been part of it forever. They were thrilled about the infant, always checking on my well-being and if we lacked anything. Her sibling, Sophia, joined us for nursery shopping. They gave me a sense of belonging my real kin never did. The difference was sharp and aching. Here were folks who scarcely knew me, offering more warmth and esteem than those meant to cherish me without conditions. As the festive season neared, I tried one final effort to mend the rift. I rang my mom and proposed we gather for holiday dawn as a unit. I figured perhaps the seasonal vibe, plus my clear contentment, could warm her spirit. She consented, but with stipulations. Camila was excluded. This was strictly for blood relations, and evidently my bride of 8 months didn't count. I nearly refused, but an impulse led me to agree. Perhaps I had to witness firsthand how deep she'd push this denial. I devoted days crafting the ideal festive token for her. Not any random item, but one that would convey all I couldn't voice aloud. Something to state my stance plainly, while upholding the respect she'd never granted me. Holiday morning dawned overcast and misty. Standard December in Alexandria. I headed to my youthful abode with that meticulously bundled offering beside me, my pulse racing with expectancy. This wouldn't be a standard exchange of lavish gems and vouchers. This was a confrontation. The residence appeared identical to my upbringing days. A flawless historic home in a posh area, impeccably adorned, flawlessly groomed, crafted to dazzle locals and uphold facads. My mom opened the portal in a high-end Yuletide gown likely pricier than many's rent. "Alex, love, you seem robust," she noted, scanning me with an expression short of endorsement. Enter. Patrick and your dad are in the parlor. The sitting area resembled a design magazine feature. Every spot shown. Each bauble positioned with exactness. My dad occupied his regular seat perusing the business pages of the Capital's Daily. Patrick lounged on the sofa in sleepwear fiddling with his device, though he was 25. Neither glanced up as I arrived. We traded courtesies briefly while I tried chat and they gave curt replies. My mom posed routine queries on my work but cared little for the responses. My dad muttered now and then. Patrick overlooked me totally. At last I resolved to deliver my revelation. I'd rehearsed this scene, pictured their expressions shifting upon grasping they'd become elders. I envisioned my mom easing, perhaps shedding a tear. I saw my dad folding his paper and truly regarding me after ages. I have news for you, I declared, posture tall. Camila and I are awaiting our debut offspring. You'll be grandparents. The hush that ensued was overwhelming. My dad's periodical rustled as his grip clenched. Patrick at last raised his eyes from his gadget, only to sneer, and my mom, her visage cycled through looks I'll always recall. Astonishment, plotting, revulsion, and ultimately frigid rage. I don't want you or that mongrel in our lineage, she uttered, tone utterly steady and composed. You're erased from my world and excised from the estate. Those phrases struck like a strike. Not over the funds, though that burned as well. But due to the conclusiveness in her delivery, this wasn't ire or letdown. This was utter dismissal of me and my expected child. For an instant, the space seemed suspended. My dad kept cowering behind his newsprint, avoiding my gaze. Patrick returned to his screen like nothing vital occurred. And my mom perched there, appearing content as if she'd resolved a nagging issue. But total exclusion like that, it sharpens all. Those eras striving to gratify her, molding to her ideal of my identity, chasing her nod, abruptly felt futile. She'd selected her path, and now I could choose mine. I dipped into my coat and retrieved her Yuletide offering. I'd encased it in elegant wrapping, secured with a plush bow, styled like the ultimate token from the model offspring. I positioned it deliberately on the side table before her. This is yours, I whispered solidays, Mom. Then I rose, adjusted my attire, and headed for the exit. From behind I caught my mom's voice, abruptly hesitant. Alex. No theatrics. We can converse maturely, but I was finished debating with folks who'd already judged me. I exited that dwelling aware I'd never re-enter as their pleading child. If I returned, it'd be my way. What I missed but learned later was the scene upon her unveiling that package. Per Patrick, who contacted me 3 hours on an alarm. My mom began wailing the second she raised the top. She howled so fiercely that neighbors summoned local authorities, suspecting homicide. Within that lovely festive parcel was a lone sonogram image of her grandkid, our boy Leo James, an append message stating, "This is the descendant you'll never meet. Festive greetings from the kin you spurned." The wailing persisted nearly 20 minutes. The ring from Patrick arrived precisely 3 hours and 14 minutes post my departure. I was parked in my vehicle at the AFS lot, digesting the events when my device buzzed. His tone trembled, nearly frantic, odd for someone usually too detached for feelings. Alex, what on earth was in that package? He demanded sans greeting. Mom's been howling for 20 minutes nonstop. Dad dialed emergency thinking it was cardiac arrest. The locals are gathered wondering the fuss. She keeps muttering the infant repeatedly. A chill contentment filled me. I included precisely what she earned, Patrick. A cue of her decision's price. What do you imply? She's unraveling totally. Dad's urging her to swallow a calmant, but she ignores everyone. She stares at this scanned shot and sobs. I've never witnessed her this way. Perhaps she should have pondered that prior to banishing her expectant offspring from the clan. I responded evenly. Did you assume no repercussions for handling folks like trash? Quiet fell on his side. Then Patrick's voice returned, diminished, doubtful. Hey, I get it escalated in there, but perhaps if you returned once she settles, I nearly chuckled. Nearly. Patrick, she didn't flare up. She didn't spout regretful heat. She stared me down and declared me vanished to her. She labeled my unborn kid illegitimate. That's not retractable with sorry and a meal. But your kin, he murmured faintly, and I could sense just how empty those phrases rang, even to him. No, to me now. That was our kin. Now I'm simply the offspring who at last quit, acting like affection ought to ache this deeply. I hung up and powered down my device. What do you figure comes after this? Might Alex's mom seek to mend fences? Or could this clan rift turn lasting? Camila located me 2 hours on, still parked there. She skipped the inquiries, just slid into the side seat and gripped my palm as I spilled every detail. When I wrapped up, she stayed silent for a stretch. I'm regretful, she voiced at last. I'm regretful that my presence in your world robbed you of your relatives. That's when the sobs hit me. Not over my mom's dismissal or my dad's spinelessness or Patrick's apathy, but because this remarkable lady was saying sorry for what wasn't her doing. Never pin their narrow-mindedness on yourself, I choked out amid the weeping. You didn't rob me of kin. They opted to discard me instead of welcoming the one who truly cares for me. The following weeks blurred into a mix of baby signs and soul-searching. Camila hit 15 weeks, her bump evident and nausea striking any time, ignoring the morning label. I stepped up amazingly, fetching her fizzy ginger drinks and plain biscuits, gathering her locks during rough spells, and somehow sparking her giggles even on bad days. Her kin rose to the occasion in ways that stunned me endlessly. Elena, her mom, began ringing every couple of days purely to see how things were, not to snoop or find, but to truly inquire about Camila's state and if we required support. Roberto, her dad, dedicated a full weekend crafting a cradle in their shed, claiming it was rehearsal for one at our spot. Her sibling Sophia hauled us out for infant gear hunts, joyfully snagging wee garments in all shades since we'd chosen to hold off on learning the sex. The difference from my birth kin stung sharply. No rings, no messages, no nod that I breathed. It felt like they'd wiped me from existence as thoroughly as I'd scrubbed them from mine. 3 weeks post-holiday, my mom launched her initial outreach. Not straight to me, naturally, since that'd mean owning a slip-up. She dialed my closest pal from training days instead. Chloe, your mom asked me to pass on, she's fretting over you. Chloe shared at our routine brew meetup. She claims worry for your well-being and the little ones, and reckons your calls stem from moods over sense. I almost spat my coffee. She's fretful for the infant's health, the very child she branded unwanted and vowed to shun. Just relaying her words, Chloe noted cautiously. She tossed in talk of group counseling too. Figures perhaps with an expert guiding. Chloe, you're dear to me, but grasp this. This ain't a mix-up mended by sessions. She didn't stumble into wounding me. She picked on purpose to shun me and my kid due to her biases toward my partner. Nothing to hash out but her own closed views. Yet she's your mom, Chloe countered, leaning on that tired line folks deem enchanted. Birthing someone doesn't license cruelty with expected pardon. I shot back. Motherhood calls for boundless care, not hoops to jump for your nod. The expectancy unfolded wonderfully amid the kin turmoil. At 20 weeks, Camila and I learned it was a boy. We wept side by side in that scant space, gazing at our small lad thumb, sucking on the display. I dove right into chatting with Camila's tummy, sharing spots I'd show him and skills I'd pass on. That evening, reclined with my palm on her swelling curve, a wave I hadn't foreseen washed over me. Ease. This young chap would mature aware he was cherished and desired just so. He'd skip earning approval or hitting unreachable bars for parental fondness. He'd claim Camila's kindness and ingenuity, plus my grit and self-reliance. Above all, he'd possess us both, teamed up to deliver what we'd lacked. The delivery proved fierce yet straightforward. Leo James Sterling Reyes entered 3 days early, tipping scales at 7 pounds 2 ounces, sporting his mom's raven locks and seeming to bear my firm jaw. Camila teared up as they laid him on her, I wept as his minuscule digits clutched my finger. Even the staff missed it at my utter captivation with my boy. Leo's early months mixed draining fatigue with wonder equally. Camila dove into parenting with her usual zeal. She mastered swaps like a pro, prepped feeds single-handed amid cries, and ran on scant rest while juggling her mobile kitchen venture halftime to aid us. I claimed all my dad leave, a perk I'd never dreamed feasible. But Camilla's eatery had soared past our boldest hopes. Proves tuning into patrons and crafting tailored eats over stale copies shook up the area's crowded scene. She'd landed a spot in a regional Virginia glossy, with bookings queued 3 months deep. In those hushed our nursings, thoughts of my folks and Patrick drifted in, not fueled by rage now, but nearer to sympathy. They missed this astounding tiny soul beaming at all comers, echoing Camila's bubbly chuckle, hinting at my own tenacity. Their bias robbed them of grandson bonds, their shortfall, not ours. At Leo's 4-month mark, my mom pushed another link try. She rang my job, hunted down my boss, Captain Thomas Reed, and pitched that I faced new. Parent mind was needing kin meddling. My chief stayed unmoved. Your mom views you as shaky and rash with your kid. Captain Reed relayed on my partial return shift. I countered that you rank among the steadiest fresh dads I've seen, and if concern's real, she ought to chat direct over sneaky routes. What'd she reply? I probed, sensing the outcome. She clicked off. Captain Reed grinned faintly.